I do like that track. I say that about all the tracks, but I do very much like that track. Hi folks, how you doing? Nick Jennison. It is the Monday Guitar Show. We are live once again, doing the thing that we do on Mondays, which is hanging out and talking about the guitar. Today, we are discussing quite a broad topic, but also a super specific topic at the same time, which is, why don't I sound as good as my guitar heroes? I mean, maybe you can play some of the lines, or a lot of the lines that your guitar heroes play, but maybe when you play them, it doesn't sound quite the way you expect them to. This goes very much hand in hand with the MO of one of the brands that have brought you today's stream, which is Lick Library, which is learning songs, learning classic albums. Don't forget, by the way, if you guys haven't done so already, go to licklibrary.com, check out all of the lessons you're ever going to need. Go to guitarinteractivemagazine.com, check out all of the news, reviews, interviews, etc. All of that other guitar lifestyle-y stuff. We'll get onto that in a second. But yes, today we're talking about why we don't maybe sound quite like the way our guitar heroes do, if that makes sense. So, we got a bit of housekeeping to do. First of all, if you are new here, I want to thank you for joining us. It is always great to have new faces. I think I can see a couple of comments in here already from folks that I haven't spoken to just yet, so I'm looking forward to saying hello to you. It's great to have you on board. If you are one of our returning streamers, it is also great to have you. We love to have you guys here. We're building a really great community here on the Monday Guitar Show. It is fantastic for me to be able to hang out with all these guitar players from all across the world, share ideas, talk about the thing that we love the most, which is the electric guitar, or the guitar of your choice, depending upon whether you're a guitar with a hole in it kind of person or a guitar without a hole in it kind of person, like myself. Now, before we get into the meat of today's stream, a little shout out to again, today's sponsors, who are, of course, licklibrary.com, guitarinteractivemagazine.com. Links are down below. We're going to say some hellos and then we'll get into the meat of today's lessons. Now, let's see who we've got in the stream. First person through the door is, of course, Marcin. Marcin is always first, in case you're new here, right? Marcin's always the first one here, and we love to see him. He is one of our longest standing streamers, and he's holding a beautiful PRS in that profile picture. Marcin's first in the door. Helmet Strap is here. Says, hi Nick, how all? Hope you're spiffing today. Feeling pretty good today, man. I'm down in my studio. My studio is on the coast. It's right near the coast. I've been here about a year, and it dawned on me today that I'd never had fish and chips from any of the huge number of fish and chip shops that are along the road from my studio. So sat down today and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna have some fish and chips. So had some fish and chips from Trenches, which is the famous fish and chip shop in Whitby. They have a branch right next to my studio, which is super cool. I'm not in Whitby, in case anybody's wondering. I'm on North Tyneside, but still, right, went down there. It was a dream. Sacred God Slayer is in the house. Good to see you. Timothy Appling is here. PJ is in the house. Larry Warren is here. There's much talk of the deadlift record. Yeah, thanks guys, I really appreciate it. So, in case anybody's wondering what's going on with this powerlifting business, I am a competitive powerlifter. In addition to being a guitar player, guitar is obviously my main thing, but powerlifting is a very committed hobby for me. I love powerlifting. It's a great sport. I think it's something that offers a little something for everybody, and I feel like it's a really great sport to be involved in. I like it because I get to lie down a third of the time, which is cool. But yeah, I compete, done a couple of meets, and in one of the more recent meets in April, I didn't realise this at the time, but I broke the Yorkshire and North East Masters 1 powerlifting, Masters 1 120 kilo deadlift record, which is pretty cool. So I now officially hold a deadlift record. I've got the medals over there, and I have, look at this, the certificate to prove it. That is super cool, right? So if I'm feeling a little bit excitable today, that's why. I'm super stoked about that. I also have the first pressing of the Blitzkrieg album, which I have framed down here. You guys will be able to see that when the time comes. It's not out until the 6th of September, so I'm not able to show it to you just yet, but it's going to be behind me this whole time. So yeah, exciting times, man. Yeah, exciting stuff. Mark Crandall's in the house. Says, Nick Jennison, guitarist extraordinaire and deadlift record holder. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. You guys are super kind. Kate Strange is here. Our friend Kriwi San says, LFG, let's insert expletive here. Go. I'm assuming anything. Unless he means looking for a group, which is something else entirely. But if you're looking for a group, you found it. Cracker Tom is in the house. Great to see you. I've got something to celebrate indeed. Having a good time repping the Barbell Medicine t-shirt as well today, which has on the back, which you guys can't see, the words, what you're going to do, not train. We'll love a bit of that. So anyway, who else do we have? Ergo Hog is here. Lovely to see. Franz is here. Sacred Godslayers is the first reviews of the Blitzkrieg record are out, and they're great. Man, I am over the moon with the reviews, right? The press we're getting is just tremendous. Mike Seedorf is here. Lovely to have you on board. Steve McD. Chris Brown is in here. Keep tagging me in them videos. I love to see him. If you guys are on Instagram, by the way, if you're on any social platform, follow me, Nick Jennison, and tag me in your uploads. I love to see it, right? So I love to see you guys playing. It's always a pleasure. If you upload something, just drop me a tag or send me a message with it. I love to watch it. It's just great. Chris does it regularly and it makes my day. Daryl Queen says, hi Nick and everyone based on the Instagram post. This should be easy lifting for you. Ba-boom, tish. We need some licks today, says our friend. I'm just going to call you Dr. 3. Dr. 34 M5 XXX. All the X's. We're going to have some licks today. Yes, you better believe it. Sam Junie Music is in the house. David B is here. Mike is in the house. Mike, it's great to have you. Marcin says, that's a nice guitar. This is a nice guitar. This is a guitar I don't bust out very often. The Maybach has popped a string, unfortunately. Playing last night, and it popped an E string, and I didn't realise, I'd kind of forgotten about it until quite close to stream time today, and I didn't fancy changing it, so I thought I would bust this one out. This is a PRS McCarty 594, one of the core models, and it is great. It's really super cool. There's a fantastic video of Tim Pierce shooting this model of guitar out with a 59 Les Paul, and I can't tell the difference. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, so yeah, Paul really got it right with this one. It's not a new guitar. It's been kicking around in the rack for a while, but I don't play it on stream very often. I should play it more, really, if you guys are into it. It's a super cool guitar. Who else do we have? Denmut has a new guitar, G&L S500. My favorite thing until the next purchase. Well, isn't that always the way, man? But listen, congratulations, that is a super cool guitar. We love G&Ls here. Great, great instruments. Again, it kind of answers the question of what would Leo have done next. Well, we know what he did next. He did Music Man, and then he did G&L. Man, yeah, we love a bit of that. It's kind of like, I guess it's the refinement of all of Leo's great ideas. Super cool guitars, man. And Timothy Appling says, happy new guitar day. Can echo that sentiment. Raf Arts is tuning in from Belgium. Lovely to have you. Peter Harper is here. Who else do we have? Raphael, or maybe Raphael, is here. Foghorn is in the house. Let's just go a little bit further in. Sam Jr. is new to Lick Library, but been enjoying it. Guys, if you're not already, consider heading to licklibrary.com, taking in a membership, because we have so many lessons. It's a comical wealth of lessons we have over there, and this stream is going to hopefully help you with some of that stuff. But not least, I got a new lesson a new lesson series out. This is the first installment of my Guitar Essentials series. There's going to be 5 of these courses coming. This one is on string bending and vibrato. It's available now. I think it's pretty cool. Mike says I'm going to have a battle at haddock right now. That's what I had, right? I'm a haddock guy. Don't know, let me know in the comments, cod, haddock, or something else. Maybe you're a sausage person, who knows. Nick Harrison's here. We have a different helmet strap. We've got 2 helmet straps. Wow, we love a bit of that. Colin O'Hare says, Lick Library game changer, can confirm. So anyway, let's get into the meat of today's lesson, which is what do we do, that is us, you and I, mere mortals, that is maybe different to the way the pros approach their playing. Now, we're going to focus our attention primarily on technique. I'm going to answer this question, though. We have one from Raf Arts, says, what are you using to play right now? Is it a plugin? It is not a plugin. It is the Victory Super Kraken, which is behind me. I like plugins. We're going to have this little chat right now, right? I like plugins a lot. I think they're great. I use them very frequently, but I feel like there's just something in a valve amp. I don't know if I'm just imagining it, but given my druthers, I would always use an amp over a plugin. However, I do gig a Quad Cortex, and I go direct, and I'm perfectly happy with it. So it's not this deal of like, plugins are terrible, I hate them. But I think amps do a thing that plugs don't do. It's really hard to describe. I think it's something in the high end. I don't know, man. Plugins are really great. I would probably be very hard pushed to tell by listening to a sound, whether it was a plug-in or whether it was an amp. But when you play, there's something in there, I think I've noticed, and I can't quite put my finger on it, but there's a thing, there's an ampiness that we like. And I'm surrounded by amps. I'd be remiss not to use at least one of them. But I think it sounds pretty cool. Now, the digital side of this does come in the load box. So I'll use a digital load box. I use a Boss Waza tube amp expander, which is my favorite because you can tune. There's lots of great load boxes out there. 2 notes make great ones. The aux is fantastic. I like that I can tune the impedance curve of the reactive load in the tube amp expander, so I can get this real splatty high end. See if you can hear this. This is kind of like a bit of an aside, but see if you can hear the difference here. This is with both the resonance and the presence set high. Now with the same IR, let's go to low on the presence. Low on the resonance. Here we go. And that feels very plug-in-y. That feels very smooth, very even. But if I go here, it has a little bit of hair on it, a bit of... And that's something that I'm really into. So that's what we're playing through now, in case you guys are wondering. So we get tone questions all the time. We got some comments about auto hairspray. I could do with some auto hairspray. Here's another great question before we get any further, by the way. Ladies and gentlemen, says Mike, what is your weapon of choice to play along with Nick? Hey, listen, I'd love to know what you guys are playing with. If you're playing a cool guitar, or just a guitar that you like, or a guitar that's not cool, maybe it's a guitar that's funny, who knows, drop me a note in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Rafart says there's an ambient thing going on. There is indeed. I've got the room mics simulation on the go and a little bit of reverb, so we've got a bit of delay. If I turn the room mics off, I have an IR without the room mics. This is with. Here it is without the room mics. Let's go to the same cab. It's slightly different IR. And then if I go back here with room mics. And on we go. Our friend Tony's saying lots of pick noise. That's coming through here. That's coming through my microphone because I got to talk to you guys, right? So anyway, and also I'm using an enormous plectrum, but we'll talk about that in a bit. So, on to the thing. We've got some great guitars coming in. I'll get to those in a second, but we're going to start with the first of 3 things that the pros do that maybe you should think about if you don't do already. Maybe you already do this. But the first one of the bunch is that the pros, all of our guitar heroes, we're going to talk about their technique specifically. Their technique and their entire approach to playing, and we're talking about all great guitar players here, and I mean all great guitar players. This is one of the very few sweeping statements that you can say about every great guitar player, is that every great guitar player prioritizes sound. And what do we mean by that? We mean they prioritize the sound that they are making with their technique at the expense of everything else, at the expense of convenience, at the expense of comfort, at the expense of you name it, even sometimes at the expense of cleanness and accuracy of execution, right? They prioritize the sound of what they're playing. Let's talk a little bit about this, right? So first of all, I want to talk to you about some licks. We're going to play some lines that we can play along with our backing track. I'm going to show you a couple, right? Let's start with a fairly standard blues rock line. Our track is in the key of C. We're going to play C minor pentatonic with this today, so that's going to be based around the 8th fret. Let's try playing this. Let's try playing the super simplest line we can think of. We're going to bend from fret number 10 up to fret number 12 on the G string. We're then going to play 8 on the G string, 10 on the D string. Band up, 8, 10. Let me show you how that's going to sound in context. We might play something like this. Easiest lick in the universe. Let's try playing it together, we'll get our fingers around it, and then we'll go a bit deeper. more time. Ready? Here we go. Do you have the lick under your fingers? We're going to play it together. One more time. Okay. Now we've got that lick nailed. That is the simplest lick, right? There's nothing to it. There's 3 notes. Let's talk a little bit about how prioritizing the sound works, right? And what I mean by prioritizing sound over prioritizing things like comfort, or prioritizing things like, I guess, preconceived notions of what might be a good technique or might be a bad technique, etc., etc., etc. There are thousands of ways that we can play this particular lick, right? And when I say thousands, I literally mean thousands. There's an almost infinite number of ways that we can skin this lick, and we're going to begin by talking about the bend, because we have a bend. I see this so frequently with guitar players who maybe haven't taken this particular step in their personal guitar journey into what you might consider like the final form, or whatever that means. Nobody ever gets there, right? But taking steps towards being the best guitar player they can be, one of the steps we take is really taking responsibility for how our bends sound, and how our notes sound in particular, but how our bends sound. Because a bend is way more than just start here, finish here. There are so many ways that we can make this bend work. We're going to try a few. Let's start with a quick bend up and a hold. Quick bend up and hold, and we're not going to release. Let's just see what it does. So if we go here, let's go again. Ready? One more time. We're going to go one more time. Real quick bend up. Let's do the quick bend up, and there's our lick. Once more. But that's not all. That's not all we can do. Let's do another where we do ourselves a slow bend up and we see what happens. We'll do a slow bend up and then the lick. Here we go. So we're going to try playing. Suddenly got very Billy Gibbons up in here, but we'll try that one more time. We're going to play. Slightly overshot there, and it sounded pretty cool. Let's try again. We're going to go. Now here's another comparison. See if you can spot the difference between these two ideas. So if I go and this. Here's 2. There was 2 slow bends. Did anybody catch the difference between the 2? Did anybody catch that, right? We are very much in the realms of nuance here, as Nick Harrison rightly points out. This is like super deep nuanced stuff, but nuance is where the magic lives, right? So let me show you the difference there. This is 2 different ways of bending slowly from one note to another. Check it out. If we start by bending most of the way to the note quickly and close the final distance slowly. So if it's a difference from here to here, we go ba. That's quite cool. Bum. Now, I always get these wrong. Daryl Queen's quite right. He says it's like logarithmic, if that's the right word. I always get like logarithmic and quadratic mixed up. I know they're like the opposite, where logarithmic is like starts really fast and then goes way, and like quadratic is the opposite, where it goes boop and then really, really quick. I don't know which one's which. I always get them mixed up, but you guys get the gist here, right? We can approach a bend linearly. We can approach a bend with this kind of curve, or we can approach a bend with this kind of curve. I call this the arc of the bend. It's probably the easiest way to think about it. And it's something that does not get discussed because it's quite hard to write down. Basically, the long and short of it, quite hard to write down. You can't put it in tab, let's put it that way. So this is one of the big issues I have with learning stuff just from tab. And not having tuition or having like an aural, a listening reference to what we're playing. I feel like this is where a lot of the stuff gets lost. But that bend is an example of what we're talking about here. We are prioritizing not just the accuracy of the lick, but how does the lick sound? Because each one of these particular little bending variations has a different effect on the listener. One sounds sultry, one sounds kind of like surprising, I guess. The other one sounds quite confident and quite swaggery. There's all sorts of ways that you can skin this, right? So I want you to start paying attention to this stuff, but the way we achieve this is with a process called audiation. Which is something that we all do anyway. I want you to imagine something for me for just a second, right? I want you to take a minute. We're going to do this in silence, and we'll just do it together. I want you to imagine the riff from Smoke on the Water. Play it out in your head, right? Play out the riff from Smoke on the Water as I'm talking. Play it out all the way through from start to finish, right? You'll have heard it, I'm sure. Okay. I want you to imagine it again, but I want you to imagine the original recording of Smoke on the Water. I want you to imagine the tone. I want you to imagine the pop at the start of the note, and I want you to imagine the length of the note, the decay. I want you to imagine how long it lasts for. I want you to imagine the swell of the room reverb behind the note, and I want you to create the deepest, richest vision of the Smoke on the Water riff that you possibly can. Focus your attention on those little details and imagine that riff out loud in your head. This is the level of detail that the pros, the greatest guitar players of all time, are envisaging what they're playing. They're not just hearing the notes they're playing, but they're hearing it in unbelievable detail. They're hearing it with a level of, I guess, like a level of kind of clarity and a level of intention that a lot of us just don't have, I guess. But it doesn't mean we don't have because we don't have the capacity for it. It just means we haven't paid enough attention to it. So we're going to do a little exercise here. We're going to envisage, and I'll do a little bit of singing on camera. It's going to be quite embarrassing, but I don't mind embarrassing myself. That's part of what we do here, right? In case you knew, we take risks here, and it's okay. Humans make mistakes, humans take risks. It's all good. I want to imagine in the deepest clarity what you want a particular note to sound like. We're going to play this lick and think about exactly how you want it to sound. Think about the vowel of the note. Do you want it to go ooh, or do you want it to go wow, or do you want it to go wee? Whatever you want to do, right? That's a clip to cut out and use on social media, I'm sure. Wow, wee, etc., etc. We've got some fantastic stuff going on in the Lick Library archive that you guys will never see, which is some of the tutors like playing away, and it's the dialogue mic when they're doing the playing performances, and it's just like it's hilarious. It's really, really funny. Myself is just heavy breaths, right? But I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So here is the backing track. Here's the canvas, right? So we can see up close what's going on. I'm going to imagine this lick. That lick didn't have any something on it. So I want to hear this lick, and I want to hear it go. Did you hear that? I want it to go. I'm going to make that with my touch. And I want this bend to go. I'll try again. Now that had a bit of magic about it. That sounds like a good version of that lick. It even had the vibrato that I sang it with. That little break in the voice. Now, this comes to something Guthrie Govan talks about quite a lot, which is there's a great anecdote where Guthrie talks about George Benson, and he was asked the question of, hey, when George Benson does that thing where he sings what he plays, because George Benson is the man, right? And when he goes. It's when he does that stuff, is he singing what he's playing, or is he playing what he's singing? And Guthrie's response was yes. Yes, in the sense that he's doing both. He's singing and he's playing, and it's the same music. It's the same music coming out of the same guy, but just with, you know, sometimes it comes out of his voice, sometimes it comes out of his guitar, sometimes it's both. Who knows? We should strive for that same business, that same approach of what do I want to hear and how do I want to hear it. But let's talk a little bit about how you can get it. We'll get to that in just a second. But here's a great comment from Sam Jr. Troubadour Online says, love the singing, Nick. I am actually a singer, right? I front a couple of bands, but you would never know it based on the way it goes on these streams, let me tell you. Alvin Lee used to do that a lot, for sure. Really, really great. Now, another fun one is Steve Vai used to do this deal where he would harmonize what he was playing. There's actually a fantastic video out there. If you guys haven't done so already, just to check out like the most magic example of this. There's a guy called Raul Midon, phenomenal guitar player. Raul Midon is playing over giant steps, which is recognized to be one of the hardest sets of chord changes to play over in the majority of jazz canon, like, you know, traditional. That's not traditional, but in, you know, the wider jazz canon. I'm sure people have come up with weirder changes to play over since then, but Giant Steps, the Coltrane track, it's wild. And Raul is improvising and he's singing what he's playing, and then he comps for himself and sings a solo. Then he sings a solo and plays a solo in harmony over Giant Steps, matching the chord changes. And then he plays a solo and sings an entirely different solo at the same time over Giant Steps. It is the power of audiation, the power of having a clear mental image of what you're going to play. Go check it out after this stream. It's Raul Midon, Giant Steps. It's great. There's another example of this. There's a gypsy jazz player from Sweden called Andreas Oberg, who has this fabulous video where he plays and he stops playing and sings the solo as it's going by, and then like hands off seamlessly from guitar to voice and back again. It's a trip, man. It's super cool. But yes, comment from Sam Jr. Music saying, amazing concept. So pre-imagine what you want the guitar to sound like before you reach for the notes. Absolutely. But here's the thing. When you get good at this, it doesn't take that long. You imagine what you want it to sound like exactly as you're playing the notes. It happens at the same time. In the same way that when you're fluent in speaking a language, the expressive qualities in your voice just happen as you're saying the words, right? You don't think about how you want to express a sentence before you say it. You don't think, do I need a questioning inflex? Do I need a downward inflection? You don't really think about that. It just happens. The same is true with the guitar. The more you make this part of what you play and part of what you practice, the better it gets, the better you get at it. It just becomes immediate, it becomes instinctive. So yes, we got a lot of comment about F as well, with a bit of Dimebag. Dimebag, not a fan of the F apparently. We love a bit of that. But yeah, Andreas Oberg, the man. Okay, here's a great comment from It's Just Ryan. It says, greatness is lots of little things done well. Yeah, you know what, like you're 100% right. And this is one of the reasons why players like B.B. King and David Gilmour, and these guys who are maybe not chops monsters, sound so freaking good. We mentioned Billy Gibbons earlier. A lot of these players that aren't like the craziest players just play really simple stuff and have it sound tremendous. Perhaps my favorite example of this, is a player called Keith Scott. And Keith Scott is Bryan Adams' guitar player, and he is the best behaved guitar player in rock, right? But if you've ever tried to play the Run to You solo with the same level of magic that Keith Scott plays it with. The solo is the easiest thing in the world, right? It just goes like this. I'm going to teach you it now, because why not? This is an example of what we're talking about. We're going to play the following. We're going to take a bar chord. The bar chord is going to be an A-shaped bar chord, right? We're going to play it on fret 5. We'll play it on fret 7. Then we'll play it on fret number 9, where we'll begin. We have 9, 7, 5, back up again. We're going to get rid of the A string, and we're going to play from the B string down, from B to G to D. We'll then precede that with the note that's 1 fret above the B string note. So in this case, it's 12, 11, 11, 11. Same thing down 2 frets. Now this solo, we could just sit and play like this. We can go. That is not what our man Keith Scott did. He goes like this. Oh, not like that. He played the wrong notes. He goes. Those particular lines, when I got it right, when I didn't make the mistake, had a very particular flow to them. Instead of going bee beep beep bee, they go bee beep beep bee, bee beep beep bee, where there's like a little bit of a gap, there's a bit of a slide in, or a bit of a accidental, or a grace note at the start of the thing we're playing. That's what we're talking about here, right? It's not about the complexity of the line, it's about how well you execute it. And then if you can take that and apply it to some really complex lines, you Guthrie govern, right? That's how that works. So, some practice tools for prioritizing sound. Prioritizing sound. Prioritizing our sound is probably best done as follows. We listen and we evaluate. So, here's the deal. Right, you are going to take, this is a lesson that I've adapted from our friend Nick Harrison, right? Nick Harrison sent me a bunch of tuition material in the post. It was gold, all of it. If you haven't done so already, by the way, Nick has a book called The Creative Guitar Performance Workshop. I encourage you, it's 2 books actually, or maybe more. I encourage you to go check them out. Creative Guitar Performance Workshop. They're really, really great. I've learned a lot from them, or the material that eventually went into becoming them. And he talks about the 10-note lesson, which is super cool. We, rather than doing the 10-note lesson, we'll do the 10-lick lesson, right? The 10 licks. And we're going to basically play some licks. And we're going to mark your ability to play the licks and have them sound the way you want to play them. So, there's our man Nick. Go check him out, by the way. Nick Harrison, regular contributor to the comment section here. He's a great guy, great friend. He needs a bit of that rub, because this book is gold and not enough people know about it. That's all I'm going to say. So, anyway, we got some great comments about singing what you're playing. Humming is another great one from my friend Mike. 100%, totally agree. But the other thing as well is you don't need to sing it out loud. You can just sing it really loudly in your head. Right? Much like we imagined the Smoke on the Water riff loudly in our head, it's the same deal. You can imagine this super, super loudly and clearly in your head with as much detail as you can possibly imagine, and then you've got a much better chance of getting it. Here's the deal. If you don't, because we'll do the lesson in a second, if you don't have that level of detail imagined in terms of what you want to play, how can you possibly achieve the result that you want? You don't know what the result that you want is. If you know what it is, you may get it, you may not get it, depending on how good you are at this stuff, which is just a matter of practice. But if you don't know what it's meant to be, then how are you going to get it? Right? Does that make sense? Are we talking rubbish? Who knows? I talk a lot of rubbish here, but I don't think that's one example of that, let's say. I don't think it's an example of me talking rubbish. That little sentence was. But never mind. Anyway, let me show you what I'm talking about. We're going to go back to our lick. For anybody who's just tuning in now and missed the lick is as follows. We play 10, bending up to 12. We play 8, both in the G string. And then 10 on our D string. We're going to play this and we're going to play it 10 times and give it a mark out of 10. What criteria are we using for the mark out of 10? We're using the criteria of how much did it sound the way I wanted it to sound. Here's an example of it not sounding the way I want it to sound. I want it to go beep, bap, boom. If I play it like this, that does not sound like the way I want it to sound. Let's see how good I am at making it sound the way I want it to. That was good. That had the... It had the difference in squawk versus non-squawk. That one kind of went ping, so maybe not so much. I'm going to give the first one maybe a 9. I'd maybe give that one a 6. That was pretty good. Didn't quite have the magic, but I'd maybe give it an 8. Let's go again. That was a bit too heavy on the down. Ba-bomb. So maybe a 7. And I'll go. That was pretty cool, but there's a bit of a weird pick squeak there. I'll do another where I go. Good vibrato, that's getting a 9. You get the gist, right? So we play and we evaluate. We do it 10 times. You tot up the score that you've got, and then you end up with a score out of 100 for how good you are at taking the lick and making it sound the way you want to sound. You will be amazed at how much intention will inform your ability to produce sounds. Listening and reacting to these sounds is way, way, way more useful than all of these little kind of tweaks that I can show you. There's a fly in the room. I think I got him. I don't know. Or at least I batted him out of the way so he's not flying around anymore. We've got some cool stuff here from our friend XX Doctor 345M5 XX. I'm going to come up with a good name for you, and I don't know what it is yet, but I'm very glad to have you here, because you've got some great points, including this one here. It's always in the details, like the small little semitone bend. It's not even a semitone, it's just the tiniest of bends. Tiniest of little bends. But yeah, you're absolutely right, these little details. But here's the thing, you can intellectualize these until the cows come home, but the easiest way to get this, and perhaps the most effective way to get this, is to have a clear intention and a clear evaluation process. So, did it work? Yes. Did it not work? No. Whatever the outcome, why? And how do I fix this? We've got some comments about internal dialogue. I don't have an internal dialogue. So I don't hear words in my head when I'm speaking, mainly because I'm speaking so much that I hear the words outside my head, but I don't have that here. Things just appear as an idea. Freaks people out who have internal monologues, let me tell you. But anyway, yeah, so intention, reaction, that is an example of this. I had a really great example of this at a recent powerlifting meet, funnily enough, with my drummer, Dan. Dan is also a very strong dude in a much, much lighter weight class to me. So I'm currently in the 120 kilo class. I weigh about 108 kilos right now. So I'm right at the bottom of the class, making my way down to the 105s again. Dan is a 74 kilo lifter. So he's way lighter than I am, but he's super strong. He was having some issues with his bench press. You get 3 attempts at the meet, and his second attempt was a mess, right? And it didn't go well for him. And it was a technical issue, and I could see what the technical issue was, but rather than me saying, you need to do this, A, B, C, X, Y, Z, I'd been reading about some coaching practices and some skill learning practice on this, and I thought, I'm just going to give this a try. We're going to Hail Mary it. So what I did was, while he was getting ready to go, and while he's waiting his 5 minutes or 7 minutes or however long it is, I pulled up a video on my phone of somebody executing the bench press with the same style and the same cues that I want Dan to use. So the points of performance I'd want him to have, which in this case were to flare his elbows a little more, flare his rib cage, bring his chest to the bar and hold it tight at the bottom. These were all cues that I could have said to him and they would have gone out of his head in the panic of the meet. I showed him this video on my phone and went, do this. And he went out and crushed it. It was great. Like, all of those issues fixed themselves because he had a very clear mental image of what it should have looked like, and he was able to translate that into a physical performance. And the same is true on the guitar. If you have a clear mental image of what you want something to sound like, with practice you can start to convert this into actual good sounding stuff on the guitar. So that's the big one. That's thing one. But we have 3 things that we're talking about. 3 things. The second thing we're going to talk about, this is huge. Also huge here, right? Also huge. A great comment from my friend Colin O'Hare. I'm going to pull this up as well. It's a really good comment. Just before we get into this, said, it's what you think it is, it often isn't. The devil's in the detail. Learn the section and check it and check it and check it again. All those little bits missed accumulate, and it's never right. You really have to listen and drill down those techniques. I find doing this makes you play better and makes the next challenge easier. Nail on the head, my man. Nail on the head. Dial Queen talks about calls it getting it in his ear. Totally agree. Or getting it in his Earl. But I assume you meant ear. But getting it in your Earl, maybe that is a thing. Have I missed something there? But I'm going to start saying Earl because that's pretty cool. So anyway, that was thing number 1. Prioritize sound. Prioritize the way things sound over the flash, over the amp, over the guitar, over the complexity of the line, playing the hippest thing. Play something that sounds nice, right? Here's the second thing. We fit the technique to the music. We fit the technique to the music. Let me say that once more. We fit the technique to the music. Let me play this bend, this line that we just played, in a few different contexts, right? This line here, we just played. It's our blues lick in C. I've got 3 backing tracks I'm going to play it with, right? This first one is this Rolling Stones style blues rock track. It's in the key C, same deal. We're going to play. Made a bit of a mess of that. There we go. Squawky and nice. Let me set this in a different context, right? Let me set it in this context. This is a kind of a heavier track in the key of C, still C minor. This is the heavy C Dorian backing track. Knock that up a little bit. Same lick. Notice how that feels very different to this. That feels a little out of place. That feels much more fitting. Let me do another. Let me find another track for you guys. Let's go with the. Let's go with this one. This is a blues in C, but it's like a minor blues. So this time we're going to play the same technique that I played in the heavy track. Suddenly wildly out of place. Maybe we play this. Now suddenly that sounds bad. It needs to be this. And not this. What are the differences here? It's the same lick, right? It's the same friggin' lick. Surely it's the same lick. Well, I ask you this. This is a lick that has been played by Zakk Wylde, by Steve Vai, by Jimi Hendrix, by Eric Clapton, by David Gilmour, by B.B. King, by Freddie King, by Stevie Ray Vaughan. The list goes on, by Joe Satriani, by Guthrie Govan, by, like, you name it, right? You name how many players there are there, right? Do they all sound different? Yes. Have you ever seen these players when they're out of their zone, so to speak? There's a fantastic video of Zakk Wylde playing in a blues setting where he's playing this sort of stuff, and I love Zakk. He's one of my favorite guitar players. It's dreadful. It is woeful, because it's this. It's the Zakk thing, right? And it's this. When I put the chorus on, do I have the chorus? I'm gonna put the chorus on, but he'll be playing this. That's a cool sound, but that is the wrongest sound for that track. But if I put that same approach over this heavy track, same vocabulary, there it sounds just tremendous, right? That's a great approach, I think, for that track. Over the other one, not so much. If I play, however, using, yeah, we've got to go on. Is it with Joe Bonamassa playing Crossroads? It is with Joe Bonamassa playing Crossroads, right? Not Zakk's finest hour, that's all I'm going to say. But Zakk's the man, right? I love a bit of Zakk. Now, here's the thing, right? We've got some comments on the blues, and you got to feel it. You're absolutely right. You got to feel it, but you got to feel any type of music that you're playing. Any type of music you're playing, you got to feel it, right? You got to feel the deal. So it can be a rock thing, it can be a metal thing, it can be a blues thing. If I take my blues approach, right? I'll do this in reverse and I'll show you how inappropriate this is if we play in the opposite direction. Watch this. So if we go to the blues track up here, right? I'm going to play with a slightly more blues appropriate touch. We're not going to change the sound. The sound's going to be the same. So it's still quite an aggressive big sound, but you know, still on the same pickup too. I might go like this with the tuner off. I might go. You get the gist, right? Try to channel the Peter Green, Gary Moore vibrato there. Now, that is very much the Gary blues vibrato that we're trying to channel. And it's got a little bit of Peter about it, a little bit of Eric Johnson, a bit of Bonamassa. It's that little thread. Try and play that over the metal track. It's not it. It's not it. Not it. Not the thing, right? Not the thing. Context is important. We fit our technique to the musical context. And we don't just play with one rigid idea of what sounds good and what doesn't sound good. Because as we've just heard, things that sound great in one context or maybe not so great in another context. Let me give you another example, and let me take a second to throw another player far greater than myself under the bus. Because that's kind of what we're doing here. I don't mean it to be that. I love these players, adore them, right? But take a listen, if you get the chance, to John Mayer's solo on, well, listen to John Mayer's solo on anything, right? And observe how majestic he is as a guitar player. He's wonderful. The guy's a great guitar player. I have his guitar sat over here. Right? That is this is what we're dealing with here, right? John Mayer is the man. We have his guitar there. He doesn't have my guitar. I don't have a guitar, right? He has a guitar with his name on it, and it's PRS, and I love it. Listen to his solo on Beat It, the Fall Out Boy version of Beat It. It's just not it. It's not it. It just has like the feel is entirely wrong. It is entirely wrong. Similarly, go listen to John jamming Panama. It's just nope. Ain't the thing, because the feel is wrong, the touch is wrong, because the touch is coming from a musical tradition that is different to the one that he's playing at that given time. Our job as pros and our job as players is to respect the musical tradition and the musical context that we're playing in and adapt our technique to that. In terms of vibrato, this is probably the easiest way to teach it. We have a vibrato spectrum. Don't just have one vibrato. People do this. They have the one vibrato to rule them all, right? One vibrato to rule them all, where it's like, I play with this vibrato because my favorite player is George Lynch or whatever. My favorite player is Michael Schenker. My favorite player is Eric Clapton, and I have this vibrato, and that's my vibrato. Vibrato is not a set in stone thing. It is a response to the musical style that we're playing. As is the way that we treat music with dynamics, as is the way that we treat our music with our touch, with our intention. Ask yourself this next time you're playing something. Is this A, the sound that I want to make, but B, the right sound for the music that I'm playing? So that's thing number two. We fit the music, we fit the technique to the music. Here's a fun one. This is number three, right? Is the pros don't just fit their music, they don't just fit the technique to the music, they also fit their technique to the equipment. They fit their technique to the sound. Here's something that I hear all together too often, right? And this is something that just bugs the life out of me. You find players who have gotten used to playing with a particular sound, right? I was really guilty of this, right? I was just like high gain shred monster, still am, right? That's my bread and butter, right? I like lots of gain, as you can probably hear. I've mellowed a bit in my old age, and I'm starting to embrace treble for example. So you'll hear this a lot with a lot of guys that use axe effects and have these really beautiful lead tones. Like Matteo Mancuso has a beautiful lead tone, right? Just gorgeous, but it has that axe effectsiness, right? And I always think about it as a particular kind of sound where it sounds like there's treble in there somewhere, but everything's been taken away after about 5K because that bit doesn't feel very nice. And it doesn't feel very nice. It can be a bit like, ugh, if you're not used to it. But Pete Thorne has great comments about this. He's like, the character lives in the treble. It lives in the spikiness and the fuzziness and the fizziness at the high end. I'm a fan of a little bit of fizzy high end. I think that's kind of an ampy thing that I'm really into. It helps cut in a mix, helps give you clarity. You got to be a bit more on if you're playing that stuff. But if you get used to playing with a particular sound, it can be a thing where you kind of, I guess maybe you tailor your technique and you tailor your dynamics to the particular sound that you're used to playing, and then you apply those dynamics to other sounds where it may not be appropriate. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to do this unaccompanied. So here is my big rock sound where I can play with my favorite dynamics. We're going to stop playing blues for a second. I'm doing some things there, right? First of all, some of those notes are really quiet under there. I'm playing those notes really softly. This one here. Same with the legato notes, right? The reason for this is when I play a note loud, it goes wah, and when I play a note soft, it goes woo. I could try and play that stuff really uniform. But it's not the sound I'm looking for. I'm looking for a sound with a bit more. A little more harmonic ebb and flow with it. I'm looking for some unevenness there. So I'm being super over the top of the dynamics. I'm really laying into the loud notes. I'm really laying off the quiet notes. If I were to take a clean sound and play with the same approach, it might sound a bit like this. It might sound like a mess, right? I might go. Let's play the same kind of line if I go. Just doesn't sound right. It sounds like I'm missing half the notes. They're not even. They're not all there. I could play them evenly. We can do it. It's just, the question is not, can I? The question is that the sound I want? Is that going to give me the vibe that I'm looking for from my rock legato playing? When I play it with my clean sound, not the same. So what do? We adapt the way we play. We adapt the approach that we take to fit the music that we're playing. We got a question here. I will absolutely do that, my man. Counting it, right? It's coming. Okay. So if I'm playing with a clean sound, I'll try and play a little more evenly. Still playing dynamically. There's still differences between the loud notes and the quiet notes. When I'm playing with lots of gain, I will be a lot more exaggerated with the dynamics because I can. This sounds like nothing with a clean sound. It sounds fantastic with gain. Did you hear the delay winding up there? I can really make those notes big or small depending on how dynamic I am. And that is kind of what we're doing here, but I'm fitting that to the sound. Now there's an in-between sound, like this maybe. My dynamics can be different there because the top end stuff that I'm really laying in on that sounds great with loads of gain, sounds terrible with this kind of sound. This is a sound where it really sounds rubbish, right? Especially if I'm squawking really hard on this kind of like low to mid gain Marshally thing. Certain notes sound cool. If I play the way that I play with lots of gain, where I might dig in, really aggressively, that sounds cack here. How many times have you seen a metal player do this, by the way, out of interest, when you have a metal player and they go, now I'm going to play with a bluesy sound, and that comes out? It's not adapting the technique to the music, right? I say this as somebody who lives in the heavy metal sphere, right? Love me some heavy metal guitar, but sometimes that touch that is perfect with high gain, it's not it with the low gain stuff. Similarly, the touch that we use with lower gain may not work with the high gain stuff. It's not even high gain. Where's my gain sound? Come on, behave. It's one of the reasons why sometimes players who are used to a lower gain sound might struggle with a high gain tone, because you have to feed a certain amount of aggression into the gain sound to actually get the note to do anything out of the walls of gain, right? That same lick play with a low gain sound, I have to adopt an entirely different touch to get it out. So this all comes back to the master point here. These three things of prioritizing sound, fitting the sound to the music, or fitting the technique to the music, and also fitting the technique to the tone that we're playing through, which comes to prioritizing sound, all comes down to this, right? And we've asked for some actionable points from our friend Mike. Here are the actionable points, right? The actionable points are this. Get used to this cycle of imagine, play, listen, react. Imagine, play, listen, react. Imagine, play, listen, react. Imagine the note, play the note, really hear that note, really hear what you did, and go, did I like what I heard? If so, why? Why did I like what I heard? What did I like about it? And how did I get that? And how can I do it again? What are the things that make that note sound the way I want it to sound, or that lick sound the way I want it to sound? Did I dig in a certain way? Did I touch at a certain point on the string? What if I do this? What if I do this? Let's say we're looking for this kind of tone. This, let's go for mid-gain tone, maybe with a bit of overdrive on top. This very bloop, bloop, bloop. That really bouncy bloop, bloop, bloop. I'm listening to the dynamics of that and going, how hard am I hitting? A bit too hard. It sort of goes, wah. A little soft is nice. Okay, what about the pick angle? Do I go very angled? Not very angled? That's nice. Where am I picking up and down the string? I'm picking here. What if I pick a bit further back? What if I go, that's different. What if I go here? That's not it. That's it. What I'm doing while I'm playing this stuff is I am listening and I'm assessing. I'm listening to what I'm playing in real time with a goal in mind, with a clear vision of what it is that I want to sound, the ear-fingertip connection, a very clear idea of how I want a particular lick to sound, and then listening to whether I got it or not. And if I didn't get it, I'm changing stuff until I find the thing that got it. Changing stuff either methodically or just at random, and making notes. I'm doing some comparisons. This is kind of how skill learning works. Skill learning rather. I'm going to go back to the barbell thing because it's on my mind right now. One of the best ways to teach somebody to move, let's say, you want to teach somebody how to squat, and you want to teach them how to squat effectively. You don't prescribe a load of physical instructions and go, you must move your knees exactly this degree out here, and then you must have your torso inclined at exactly this angle, and you must have your toes pointed out exactly here, and all this sort of stuff. What you do instead is you allow them, through constraint and exploration, to try movement possibilities, to try movement strategies. The body is very sophisticated at figuring this stuff out, way more sophisticated than any like intellectualizing process could be. Has huge processing power available to it. It's crazy, right? So what you do is you do things like, okay, well, that didn't look great. Maybe try squatting down very slowly. Maybe take 3 seconds to squat down, and then take 3 seconds to squat down, and then focus on whether or not you're balanced on the bottom, because that's something we want. We want balance. Is that right? And the body will figure it out, man. And the same is true with this, right? Listen, assess, the body will figure it out. We had a great comment from Sam Jr. Saying, Eureka! So the sound has to coincide with the sound you hear in your head you wish to express. Exactly that. Right? Start with a clear vision of the sound that you want to express and move from there. We've got one last question. We've got several other questions, I guess, but our friend Valentino says, can he play some Dimebag Darrell styled licks? I mean, yeah, I guess so. Probably don't have the right guitar for it, but something Dime would do, which is quite good fun, is symmetrical stuff, where it sounded chaotic and crazy in this. That's Zach again, but let's do an F, because he doesn't like F. Lots of very squawky stuff in Dime's playing. I'm not a Dime expert. Some people really do that Dime thing well. I'm not one of them. But, you know, I have the players that I can cop, and Dime's probably not that guy, but I'll have a go. Anyway, so good question. Here's a cool one from my friend Ergo Hogs. One exercise I like to do is put a drum beat on and put a single repeat delay to repeat after 4 beats. This is clever. I like this. Play a bar, and then you can listen to what you played directly. Keep going until it sounds right. Man, that's a great exercise, right? I would encourage you all to do the same, right? Tap tempo, play a bar, and then listen to the bar, and then just make some notes. Another fun thing you can do is to record, right? Grab yourself a free DAW. If you're on Mac, you just use GarageBand, it's free. And it's basically Logic at this point, right? So there's so much stuff in there. It's like, why did I pay for Logic? Anyway, something like that, or there are several other free ones that you can get for Windows if you're a Windows user, or even use your phone. Record yourself and then listen and analyze. Don't be afraid to confront this stuff, right? It's it's only going to make you better, right? It can be a bit scary because you can go, maybe I don't really want to hear it. I don't really want to hear it, but I want to record it. Great comment. That is the stench of genius about it. Ogahog, you are in fact a genius. It's really cool. Great exercise. Folks, I'm afraid it's time to go. I've had a lush time hanging out talking about this stuff. We do this every week. In case you're wondering, by the way, in case you're wondering, we do this every week. It's a Monday night tradition. We hang out here on Monday. We talk about the guitar. We'll be back next week with a whole new topic because it's a new month, new topic, but it's going to be similar stuff, right? It's basically about how we can make you a better guitar player, right? In the meantime, ways that you can help us get these streams to as many guitar players as possible, things that you can do that will make me a happy Nick are as follows. You can give this video a thumbs up. You can share it with your guitar playing friends. You can subscribe to whichever channel you happen to be watching on, whether it's Lick Library, whether it's Guitar Interactive Magazine, whichever one it is. Oh, questions about favorite guitar players. Sorry, I got to answer this one very quickly because it actually came up in conversation at a gig the other night. I can't remember who it was. Somebody, it's further up in the comments, but if it was you, I apologize. I saw it and I clocked it and I forgot to star it up. But yeah, a question about who my favorite guitar player is. Sacred Godslayer is pretty right where he says Richie Kotzen. He's definitely up there. And for periods of time, Richie is most definitely been my favorite player. I think if I had to say all time, I thought about this the other night when we sat around at the gig and we were talking about it. Somebody in the audience asked, in the interval, because we had an interval, because we're civilized, asked who my favorite guitar player is. All-time favorite guitar player across my entire lifetime, the guy I keep coming back to, Steve Vai. Right, Steve Vai is the man. And that's it. Folks, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure, right? I really, really enjoyed doing these streams. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next week. No new records next week, but who knows? Maybe I'll be equally excited about something else. In the meantime, thank you so much for having us. My name is Nick Jennison. This stream's been brought to you by Lick Library, GuitarInteractiveMagazine.com. Links to courses down below. Go hit the buttons. I will see you guys next week. Hi, my name's Nick Jennison, and it's my pleasure to announce that GI Plus, the exclusive lesson platform from Guitar Interactive Magazine, is moving to licklibrary.com. GI Plus features a whole host of the best players and educators in the world, bringing you exclusive lessons on everything from metal to blues to fusion and everything in between. Want to level up your shred chops? Check out How to Play Fast by Andy James. Or how about Sweep Picking with Rick Graham? Or maybe country's more your bag? Well, how about a full-length country guitar course from Andy Wood? Interested in learning how to play over changes? Well, members get access to hours of exclusive lessons from fusion maestro Tom Quayle. Or maybe you want your playing to sound more soulful. Well, who better than Chris Buck to show you how it's done? Members also get access to every lesson ever published in Guitar Interactive Magazine, including Michael Caswell's legendary Pro Concepts column. Or maybe you want to learn the secrets of the masters. Well, members get access to over 70 full-length tech sessions where our tutors painstakingly decode the styles of players like David Gilmour, Eddie Van Halen, John Petrucci, Larry Carlton, Slash, Tosin Abasi, Paul Gilbert, and many more. And you get all of this in addition to all of the amazing content on licklibrary.com, which includes note-for-note tuition of over 60 classic albums, weekly lesson uploads, a backing track library, and one-to-one player support. There has never been a better time to sign up than right now.